Welcome to Views from the Hill, episode 3. I'm Seth Mentzer, joined with Jack Goheen and Drew Ditto. We want to welcome episode 3 guest, Mr. Frank Karczewski. How are you?
Doing well, Seth. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Coach Frank.
Good morning, guys. Good to see you all.
Yeah, great to have you on.
Yeah.
So, Coach, do you typically follow a morning routine every morning?
Yeah, I wouldn't say every morning, just because I like to go to the gym a couple of times a week, but not every morning. So then there's a couple of times a week that I get to, like this morning, get up and get after it. But, I also like to enjoy relaxing, coffee and, a chance to check up on the news and read. So I think it actually varies from week to week based on kind of my responsibilities outside of school and what I need to take care of. But yeah, generally like to show up at 8 o'clock and excited to work and be here. So whether that's coming straight from home or from the gym, either way is fun.
What gym do you go to, or do you work out at your house?
Yeah, actually, over on 62nd and Binford is Place Peak Fitness, that kind of a local gym that I really like going to. Coach Sander goes there too. He's the one who introduced me to it, and yeah, it's fun to be a part of a small Indianapolis-based gym rather than something that I can go anywhere and go to.
So does that gym only have one location?
Yeah. I haven't seen any others, and I mean they don't advertise any other place. I think it's locally owned and operated. So
Yeah, that's cool.
Do you have to drink coffee before the gym because it's early?
No, I don't. I cut that out. I used to be a big pre-workout guy, and that kind of that got to be too much. I got a little too wired all the time, and so I had to take a little bit off. I do have my coffee this morning that we get going.
How do you? What coffee do you usually drink?
Lately in the summer I've been doing iced coffee, but I don't like to add too much cream and sugar. I don't know. I mean, are you guys coffee drinkers at all?
Yeah, a little bit.
I
I don't like it as dark as that, though.
That's too dark for you.
Yeah.
I do like it dark. It's like the lack of taste kind of slows me down on it a little bit, because I could easily
Yeah.
I would just run through it if it tasted too good for me.
Yeah.
So, growing up, how did you know that you wanted to go to college at Notre Dame?
Growing up in South Bend, I think it's kind of like every kid's dream to go to Notre Dame, but I realized pretty quickly I wasn't necessarily the academic level of a lot of the students that ended up coming out of there that went to Notre Dame. And I actually didn't go there for undergraduate. I didn't go there until I got my master's. And so it took me a while to be able to develop the work ethic that's required of going to an elite institution like that. My fiance, she Miss Griffith, she has it, and she always had it growing up, and understood what it took to be close to a 4.0 level student, and I think she was over a 4.0. I wasn't like that in high school. I kind of had to work to even be a 3.5 student, and then once I got into college and got my undergraduate degree, I had the opportunity to go there for my master's, and that fit in a little bit better for me. But like I said, Notre Dame was always the school that everyone wanted the opportunity to go to. But so I feel really lucky that I had the option to do that for my graduate degree. Yeah.
So would you say that Notre Dame influenced your maturity a lot and helped your work ethic?
Yeah, certainly. But I think that going to first commuter college for undergrad helped me develop that work ethic even more so, because I kind of had to there weren't necessarily the same sort of system set up in place for 18 to 22-year-olds that other universities offered. You kind of had to make your own schedule, be really self-motivated, and that took a lot of relearning on how to be a good student and how to recognize weaknesses within yourself and address those to become a fully rounded student
Yeah.
at
So
Notre Dame.
you said you have an undergraduate and a master's degree. What are they in?
So my undergraduate degree is in history and just general history, and that's why I've now transitioned into the social studies department. Then my master's I got in general education, but while I was getting that master's, I was teaching English full time, and so when I came here initially, I was an English teacher. Now I've moved into that social studies role, and so Notre Dame really helped me become somebody who could teach multiple things. The program that I was in, the ACE program, which is an awesome option for anybody who's just graduated college or maybe is a couple of years out of college looking to get into education. It really helps. I think it's a really beautiful program in helping develop teachers become teachers of any subject.
What do you think made you want to become a teacher?
When I was in college studying history, I didn't really know what I was going to do. I initially thought that I was going to be a lawyer and didn't see that as my passion. Did a internship where I did a lot of research at the National Archives in Washington D.C. and Library of Congress, and I loved studying history, but I felt like just interacting with history by myself wasn't really who I was. But while I was in college, I was helping my former high school, was coaching football there, and kind of was like falling in love with just educating people and working with high school students in particular and seeing them develop over time. And I thought that if I was enjoying doing this every afternoon, it was the highlight of my day, I might as well make a career of it. And that is kind of what led me towards education.
So this ACE program that you did, is that how you ended up in California?
Yeah, so the ACE program kind of really cool. When you apply for it, you get no say in where you go or what they teach or what they place you or where they place you. And I kind of hit the jackpot and got placed in Southern California in Orange County. I drove past Newland every day, and yeah, it was sweet. But then the only downside I thought at the time was, oh man, I'm teaching middle school English. But that was such a blessing for me because it forced me to interact with a class that was not my favorite growing up. I was always a social studies and I like math guy, but I loved to read, but I struggled in writing, and particularly because I had really poor handwriting. I was just I was convinced oh, I can't be a good writer because I have bad handwriting, and that's just not the case. But the point is that I got lucky with my opportunity.
So how did you get into coaching?
Yeah, so originally when I was in college, I needed a job, and my high school coach, actually called me up and said they needed somebody to help along with their offense because they had lost a couple of coaches here and there, and I was going to college at IU South Bend, which literally was across the street. So it was really easy for me just to walk on over, be at practices, be at games, and eventually get more involved into game planning and play calling and things like that. And that was a fun experience for me while in college, and I just kind of knew I wanted to keep that going. While I was in college too, that was what I would do during the fall, and then during the winter, I was hired as an assistant boys basketball coach at my high school, and then worked at middle school baseball team during the spring. So I was, pretty much coaching year round while I was in college, and that kind of became a part of my daily routine. And so I couldn't necessarily stop doing it. It just felt too much who I am, and and you guys know this too. When you're going to practice every day from 3 to 5, it's just it's what you just start doing, and you're in that routine, you're in that lifestyle, and I don't know, it brought me like the most joy on a weekly basis, so I knew I had to keep going with it.
After the season, you kind of get home early, and you're like, now what? What do I do?
Right, exactly, yeah, and it's when there's like gaps in between seasons, I really felt like this time like I don't know what to do with it. Like I wasn't like doing anything extra productive with it, so I was like I just want to keep going with this.
What do you usually do in your free time when you out of season?
Yeah, out of season now. I mean, that's the thing. It's like during that time, I love to travel and do things like going to watch sports or going to I love to hike and be outdoors in general. And I'd say that's um, one of the harder things about being here in Indiana compared to California is that I got to be outside and year round and experience mountains and beaches and things like that, which are a little more unique. But here,
There's not very many beaches in Indiana.
There
There's
are
Indiana Beach.
There is
Indiana Beach.
Indiana Beach, and then up north we have the lake, and stuff like that, Lake Michigan. But yeah, just being outside in general, I think Indiana does have a pretty cool state park system. And during quarantine, I got to experience that a little bit and go down to Brown County a few times. Turkey Run, it was a lot of fun going all the way down to Madison, Indiana. Clifty Falls was a blast too. And so, just experiencing what there is around you. I started to realize, like, man, there's a lot of good things around here too, and I can enjoy the outdoors, even being in Indiana.
Yeah. So you had to drive all the way from California to Indiana. What types of things did you see on your drive here?
Yeah, I took a 4-day trip and stopped in Flagstaff and went to a really cool a church in Albuquerque. Stopped in Amarillo, Texas, and just got to see parts of the U.S. that I probably wouldn't have ever put on a travel destination list. But really blessed that I got that opportunity to take a slow drive throughout the U.S. and really experience parts of the country that I hadn't gone to before. And I don't think a lot of people necessarily outside of the country point to as like, what represents America, but I think it really does represent America in, being in smaller cities that don't have the typical tourist destinations.
Yeah. When you got back to Indiana, what types of ways did you have to adapt versus when you lived in California?
So I mean, as a sports fan, I think the hardest part was now having to if I have to choose between staying up late for a game or waking up early and going to the gym or having a coffee and relaxing.
Because when you were in California, games like Monday Night Football would be at 5:30, right?
Right. So I'd come home from practice, be able to get my work done while I was watching the game, and then have everything wrapped up and prepared for my next morning by 8:30. I'd watched full game, could be asleep by 9 and up and at it in the morning at 4:30. But that's a little bit harder now to do that. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
So, back to high school. Where did you go to high school?
Yeah, so I went to prior to the east side of South Bend, Indiana, John Adams High School. My mom was a graduate there in '79, and then I graduated in 2013. Really liked going there. It was kind of a unique school. I guess I haven't checked this in the last couple of years, but as of the last time I checked, the U.S. News and World Report had it as the highest rated school in Indiana that was majority minority. And it kind of drew from the entire city and the entire county and had, people from all over, kind of similar to Cathedral, coming to one place within the city and kind of forming that community that weren't the same sort of like feeder schools that a lot of public schools have. So like you got to really experience the whole city and the whole county coming together in a community, which I thought was really special.
Would that kind of be the Cathedral of South Bend because everyone was kind of aiming for that school?
Yeah, without a religious aspect or component to it. I think that's like that's the biggest difference and the biggest like thing about Cathedral that makes like this experience like more special is that we can like share and talk openly more about our faith and have those like core Holy Cross values that we can point to. I think that while I was in high school, like the idea of family and excellence, hope, option for the poor, all of these things existed in my high school experience and like formed the same kind of like values that I have, and then to be able to continue like living out those values but having them named in what we do and what we practice here is really special.
Did you ever like hear of Cathedral going to South Adams? Did you ever hear about?
Yeah, and I think Cathedral like has an imprint throughout the entire state. When I first got hired here and started talking to people about it, I mean, people from South Bend that have gone to different high schools, but maybe faced off against Cathedral in soccer state championships or football state championship games, or I mean, everybody had an idea from athletics about Cathedral, but what I didn't really know much about the academic side or what made Cathedral special as a Holy Cross school until I came here. I'd gone to a Holy Cross grade school growing up, and so I was aware of Holy Cross, and then being able to come and see Cathedral and to be a part of this family, like you realize how Cathedral has such a large footprint, and realize like why people know about you and talk about like this place, like in South Bend or in Evansville or in Fort Wayne. I mean, like that this place is special because the people here are so special.
Yeah. So to conclude this podcast, what is something that a lot of people wouldn't know about you?
My go-to thing that I usually bring up when like people ask me like something unique about me is I have triplet sisters. Okay, I don't know if I've mentioned that before, but
Yeah, I didn't know.
I didn't know that.
yeah, and I have 3 little sisters that are 15 months younger than me, so we're really close in age.
Spent a great time in high school.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was actually a lot of fun.
Bodyguard.
They had a huge impact on me growing up, and like, cause we did like everything together, and they have we have very different interests, but I think that's allowed me to kind of like appreciate things in a different way and have a different perspective on looking at life. Because like as you guys, it's probably obvious throughout this interview, I love sports. That's something that's really like a big part of my life, and I love being active. And that's just not who they are. But we have a great relationship, my sisters and I. We always have. It never was like one of those things where a lot of people like can't stand their siblings, or like we never even joked about that. Like we always was like buddies and friends and got along, and we found like ways to connect outside of the things that we really love to do. Like myself being into sports, they were really into like celebrity culture and things like that, and we found like common ground with spending time playing a lot of games, and particularly board games, card games, things like that, going on walks and hikes, and that's something that maybe people don't know about me, but it's something that's really important to me is my relationship with my sisters. It's like they're the most important people in my life.
So, for the listeners, I sometimes forget how to pronounce your last name, and that's why I'm always
you,
like,
you had it
Coach K.
perfect on the
Intro?
Yeah, the intro. Yeah.
So, for the listeners, how do you pronounce your last name?
Yeah, so it's just like it's spelled. I'm just kidding. It's car, chess, ski. So like you're driving a car, you're playing chess, and you're going skiing. I've heard it pronounced other ways, even by like members of my own family. So like I think that's the way it's pronounced. That's the way like my parents have always pronounced it. But then I hear like second and third cousins that pronounce it a little bit differently. So, I mean, who knows? My family's been in America for like 4 or 5 generations, so it's probably we're probably off on how the Polish pronunciation actually should be. So, I mean, Karczewski is what we go with. So, but I mean, I'm not somebody who's going to get offended or hurt if you mispronounce it or, Coach K, Coach Frank, none of that stuff bothers me. So, whatever.
All right. Well, thanks, Coach K, for joining the podcast today. You can follow us on Instagram at VFTH Podcast and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Go Cathedral High School. You can stream these podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. I'm Seth Mincer, Drew Ditto, Jack Goheen. Thanks, Coach K.
Hey, thanks, Seth.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Coach.
guys.